luckily we already created a function to deal with this, so we can reuse this user ID from username function. So let's go ahead and say user ID from username, and we pass through that. So I'm going to echo out user ID, and that will just echo the current user ID here, so that's 15. Let's take a look in our database. Alex has the user ID 15. So what we can now do is we can use this user ID and pass this into the user data function. So I'm going to create a new variable called profile data. Just move these along so we can keep everything nice and tidy. Profile data is going to equal user data, so the user data function. We're going to pass in the user ID, and we're also going to pass in the fields that we want to access here. So the fields I want to access are first name, and this is just an example, this could be anything. First name, last name, and email, for example. Okay. So now that we've done this, we can go ahead and we can output whatever information we want about a user. Now, the only problem that we've got here is that we are not checking whether a user actually exists or not. We're not doing, we're not doing this kind of check. So what we actually need to do is, before we do any of this here, we need to check if the username is available. Because at the moment we can type in Alex, that's fine. But what happens if a user doesn't exist? For example, Alex1, and we get this error here. Okay, that's from our user underscore data function. So we need to perform a check whether the user actually exists or not. So I'm going to say if something, then if something, then do all of this. Now, how do we check if a user actually exists? Well, we already have a function for that. We use that with our register page and our login page. So if we scroll up, we've got this user exists function here. We just pass in a username and it returns either true or false. So let's go ahead and use this. So user exists username. If this equals true, then we do everything inside of here. Otherwise, we can just say something like and just escape that character there. Okay, so let's give this a whirl. I'm going to type in Alex, nothing comes up because we're not doing anything. Type in Alex1, sorry, that user doesn't exist. So that's fair enough. I'm going to leave it at this because there's probably a million ways you can make this look a lot nicer. You could redirect your user somewhere or whatever. But for now, let's go back and focus on actually outputting some information. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to break out of PHP and back into PHP. Now this is a little messy because what we're doing is we've got output here in the middle of our logic. So we've got all of our logic down here and our output's going to be stuck in the middle. I'm going to leave it as it is, but I'm going to not give you the challenge, but just warn you that this can be cleared up. So go back and look at how we've done error reporting before, and that's probably a good exercise to try and tidy up a file like this. And it's not a very big file at all. Either way, it will work fine as it is. Okay, so we've done that. So let's go ahead now and output some data. So I've broken out of PHP, so I can use pure HTML here, and in here I'm going to say X's profile. Now X is just going to basically represent the user that we've passed through, and I'm going to use the first name here. So I'm going to break into PHP and out and echo profile data first name. Perfect. So let's go ahead and refresh, and it says Alex's profile. Now we also have Billy here as well, so I can go in and I can look at Billy's profile, and that echoes Billy's profile. And then obviously by now you've probably understood that here we could say something like well, I could just output an email address, for example. So I could echo profile data email because we've requested that we want the data from the email field. So now it gives us the email address, and again we can go back to Alex here and do the same. So I'm not going to take this any further. I'm going to leave it at that, because it's then easy, very, very easy to go ahead and just output any data that you are storing about your user. So now we'll just finish off with going and opening our includes file, opening up our logged in menu widget, and let's go ahead and add a link in for the user themselves to access their own profile. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy this. I'm going to go ahead and paste this underneath here, and I'm going to say profile. Just in here, what do we do? We can say / and then we want the username in here. So how do we access the user's name? Well, let's go to init.php. You can see that the user data variable holds the username. We've already dealt with this, so you should be familiar. So username here. So what we can do is we can say, and we're doing this here, by the way, user data first name, but obviously it's the username that we're passing through. So I'm going to say PHP echo user data username. So now I'm going to go ahead and refresh. Let's go back to the home page. We've got this profile link here. If you look at the bottom left hand corner of my browser, you can see localhost / Alex. That's obviously not what we want. We want, I think, without the / would be better. There we go. So we've got bottom left hand corner again, we've got localhost / LR / Alex. So I click on that and it takes me to my profile. So yeah, that's about it. That is how we would go ahead and output profile contents. As you can see, we've done this extremely easily because we already have the majority of functions in place, well, all of the functions in this case, to actually grab the data that we need. And the only difference that we've made is we've created this htaccess file, which has allowed us to rewrite the URL.